Do you ever get that feeling that there's a massive shift happening, right under our feet? Something huge, kind of invisible, that's completely remaking the world? Well, guess what? It's happening right now. And it's all being powered by a brand new kind of factory. One that doesn't make cars or clothes. It makes intelligence itself. So let's pull back the curtain and take a look at how this new world is actually being built. Just take a look at this list. This is not just a bunch of stock market data. No, this is a giant, flashing neon sign pointing directly to where the future is heading. You see NVIDIA, Apple, Google, Microsoft, TSMC. These guys aren't at the top by accident. They are all building the fundamental plumbing, the very infrastructure for a new global economy. The market is screaming at us loud and clear. The engine of how we create value has fundamentally changed. So what is that new engine? It's the infrastructure for artificial intelligence. What we're witnessing right now is a transition that's just as big, maybe even bigger than the Industrial Revolution. Value is being generated on a scale we've never seen before, and it's all happening with a completely new set of tools. Think about it this way. For the last 20 years or so, the internet was all about finding stuff that already existed. You had a question, you'd go to a search engine, and you'd find an answer. That was an economy built on information retrieval. But the whole game has changed. We're now in a token-based economy. Now, tokens are just the little building blocks AI uses: words, parts of words, pixels. And instead of just finding information, we're now using these tokens to generate totally new stuff. New text, new images, new code, even new ideas, practically out of thin air. It's a massive, massive paradigm shift. Okay, so to really wrap our heads around this new economy, we need a better metaphor. So forget the classic Silicon Valley garage for a second and think way, way bigger. I want you to picture an AI factory. Because just like the factories of the old Industrial Revolution had a clear process for turning raw materials into valuable goods, these new AI factories have their own very specific value chain.
So let's walk down this new assembly line. It all starts with the most basic ingredient, raw energy, which becomes electricity. That electricity then gets pumped into these enormous data centers that are just packed to the gills with GPUs. Those are the real engines of the AI factory. Those GPUs then churn through unimaginable amounts of data to produce those tokens we just talked about. From there, the tokens get refined into the intelligent apps we're all starting to use. Chatbots, design tools, you name it. And the final step? Those applications get plugged into every single industry, completely reshaping our world from the ground up.
All right, let's put an official definition on it so it really sticks. An AI factory is a modern data center where massive amounts of computing power, mostly from GPUs, transform two basic inputs, electricity and data, into artificial intelligence. Simple as that. This is the engine of the new economy. It's the foundation that everything else is going to be built on.
And what happens when you create an engine that powerful? Well, a race to build and control it becomes absolutely inevitable. We are smack in the middle of a global AI gold rush. But instead of digging for shiny metal, today's prospectors, nations, and corporations are in a frantic race for a whole new set of resources.
So what are they actually racing for? What are the key ingredients you need to build out this future and, let's be honest, to dominate the next era of technology?
Well, it really boils down to 5 critical forces. First up, brain power. You need the brilliant people who can actually design and build these complex systems. Then, compute power. Just raw access to enough GPUs. Third, you need electric power, and I mean a ton of it, to run these factories 24/7. Fourth is financial power, the staggering amount of capital it takes to fund this race. And finally, you need data power, those vast, clean data sets that are the real fuel for AI. Whichever country or company controls these 5 forces, well, they're essentially going to hold the keys to the next century of economic and geopolitical power.
So you might be wondering, where is the real money in this gold rush? This slide tells such a fascinating story. We all see the cool new apps that sit at the very top. But this chart shows that the vast majority of the profit, the real sustainable value, is being captured way down at the bottom of the stack. It's in the chips themselves, from companies like NVIDIA. And it's in the cloud infrastructure from Amazon, Microsoft, and Google. It's the classic picks and shovels story, right? The biggest fortunes aren't made by the people digging for gold, but by the people selling the tools to do the digging. And this isn't just some abstract idea happening in the cloud. Look at this map. This shows the staggering physical scale of this investment. It's happening on the ground right now. The major cloud companies are in a global scramble for land, for access to power grids, and for computing hardware.
They are literally building a global network of AI factories to stake their claim in this new world. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the factories, but what are they actually making? Because as this incredible infrastructure explodes, the capabilities of the AI itself are evolving at a totally breathtaking pace. We're going way beyond simple chatbots to something much, much more powerful. The speed here is just wild. Think about it. Around 2012, AI was mostly about perception, telling you if there's a cat in a photo. A decade later, 2022, generative AI blows up, and suddenly AI can create new things. But now, look just ahead to 2025. We're talking about agentic AI. This is where AI moves from just creating things for you to actually doing things on its own. It's the jump from generating to acting.
So what exactly is agentic AI? Well, it's an AI that doesn't just sit there waiting for your next command. Instead, you give it a goal, and it can figure out the steps, plan a course of action, and then execute on those complex, multi-step tasks all by itself to achieve that goal. It's the difference between a tool you operate and an agent that operates for you. They don't just respond anymore, they act.
Let's break this down even more, because the difference is crucial. Generative AI is like a passive assistant. It responds to your prompts, it creates content for you to use. In that relationship, you are the pilot. Agentic AI, though, is an active doer. It doesn't just need a prompt, it needs a goal, and then it completes the tasks for you. It's your co-pilot, and in a lot of cases, it might even become the pilot. So all of this brings us to the final, and honestly, the most important point. This isn't just some cool tech trend to watch from the sidelines. The rise of these AI factories and the coming agent economy presents a really urgent mandate for every single business and for every one of us as individuals. You either adapt or you risk getting left behind. This quote just says it all, doesn't it? The threat isn't that some robot is coming to take your job. The real threat is that a person who knows how to use AI effectively is going to take your job. This tech is a massive force multiplier for what we can do, and choosing not to use it, well, that's a huge career-limiting move. And what's true for you and me is even more true for businesses. In the very near future, adopting AI isn't going to be a luxury or some R&D experiment. It is going to be the single biggest driver of competitive advantage. The companies that really integrate AI are going to be faster, cheaper, and way more innovative. And the ones that don't, they just won't be able to keep up. So, the infrastructure is being built as we speak. The AI is evolving from a simple assistant into an autonomous actor. A massive wave is coming. And the only question left to ask is, are you and is your organization ready for what comes next?